Thames Water is a step closer to a well-deserved renationalisation after Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds objected to a proposed rescue deal. London and Valley Water, LNVW, a consortium of large financial institutions and investors, has put together a £10 billion rescue package. But Reynolds reckons this is not good enough. The creditors are essentially saying, we'll write off £9.4 billion of debt, put in fresh money and stabilise the company. But Reynolds has pointed out that in exchange, customers pay more, environmental standards are weakened, infrastructure improvements are delayed and pollution penalties are reduced. If that's an accurate characterisation of the proposal, then the government is right to oppose it. Thames Water is the UK's biggest privatised water and sewerage company, serving 16 million customers, but has faced heavy criticism over its performance, sewage discharges and pipe leaks. It was handed a £122.7 million fine in May 2025, the biggest ever issued by the industry regulator Ofwat, for breaching rules on sewage spills and for shareholder payouts. Reynolds' criticism also undermines the creditors' argument that their proposal is the fastest route to fixing Thames Water. If the company receives billions in new funding but is simultaneously allowed to postpone environmental improvements and infrastructure investment, then none of its faults are going to be fixed fast. Instead, this rescue plan looks more like a financial restructuring designed to protect investors' interests. The creditors' position also contains an obvious contradiction. They say the form of nationalisation being threatened, a special administration regime, SAR, would transfer risk to taxpayers and their plan would avoid costs to the public purse. But Reynolds says their proposal transfers costs to customers instead, when in fact it should not be increasing costs for either the government or bill payers. The whole point of privatisation was a promise to provide a better, cheaper service. When a water supplier has a monopoly, customers have no practical choice but to pay. So Reynolds would be right to see no public interest in pushing higher costs onto customers. Notice also how the argument has shifted. What was once private ownership is more efficient than public ownership changed after Thames Water accumulated nearly £20 billion of debt while paying billions to shareholders and allowing infrastructure to deteriorate. So the defence became, renationalisation would cost too much. And now it seems to be, our rescue deal is better than temporary nationalisation. So nobody is claiming Thames Water is a success story anymore, and the debate is only about how to clean up the future. This strengthens Reynolds' argument, I would think, which echoes Andy Burnham's wider problem with privatisation in general. He has said that if a company can accumulate almost £20 billion in debt, pollute rivers, require repeated regulatory intervention, demand concessions on fines, and still end up needing government involvement to survive, then there is little benefit in keeping it private. That is the issue Ofwat will have to address when it makes its own decision on the proposal over the summer. It could have repercussions not just for Thames Water, but for all privatised utility firms that have failed to deliver savings and efficiencies for customers.